This is the opening for Thursday, April 21st, 2022. Could I have a call to order, please? That's me. Did it. Thank you. Let's check. Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Dawson.
Present.
Trustee Rivera.
Here.
Trustee Path. Trustee Brian Swanson. Here. Trustee Carolyn Swanson.
Here.
Okay, time for the adoption of the agenda. Board, do we have any questions on this evening's agenda or comments?
None.
No. Okay, seeing none. Public comment, please. Seeing none. May I have a motion?
Madam President, if I may, just want to make,
Please.
I just want to make a notation for the public record. We did have one document that missed the first opening for the public hearing, but we got it out on time. That was the AB 1200 documents. You've all received a copy of that. And there was and we were noted that there was a truncated line, and you received a copy there in your folder of what was on that truncated line. We also have a copy for the public on the website. So that's all tucked away. Just wanted to make a notation of that on the agenda. It's not a change, just a notation.
Okay, thank you for bringing that to the board's attention.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as presented this evening.
We have a motion from trustee Brian Swanson, seconded by trustee Path. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Dawson,
Yes.
trustee Rivera,
Aye.
trustee Path, trustee Brian Swanson. Aye. Trustee Carolyn Swanson.
Aye.
The motion carries. We will now move to closed session.
Madam President, you'll need to note the closed session items. Did you say those already? Yeah, read the items for closed session and then take public comment for closed session, if you would. Just a suggestion.
I am going to follow suggestions. I like to be amenable. Thank you so much. In closed session this evening, we will be discussing negotiations with both PGTA and CSEA, planning and preparation for meet and confer admin, meet and confer classified, and the adult school. We will also be talking about labor negotiations for both the assistant superintendent and the superintendent with their employment contracts from 2021 and compensation to 22. And are there any public comments on these items? Seeing none, now we will adjourn. No. We will reconvene in open session at this time. In closed session this evening, we handled negotiations with collective bargaining sessions with both PGTA and CSEA. We also discussed planning and preparation for meet and confer admin, classified confidential, and adult school. We also had a discussion regarding labor negotiations for the assistant soup employment contract for 2021-22, as well as the superintendent. So at that time, action was not taken, but information and direction was provided for the board. All right, so next we will move to Pledge of Allegiance, please. If you'd stand up, face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please.
Ralph, on page 1 here, we did announce that this meeting was being conducted by teleconference at the following location.
Yes.
Even though we are not actually doing that, but do we still need to read that? As it is now?
No, we don't. But we do have to do roll call because it was posted by roll call.
Thank you.
Okay, so we do roll call again, or we already did that?
No, roll call for each vote.
For each vote. Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you so much. Okay, we will move on, please, to written communications. Dr. Rivera.
So going through the written communications since last meeting, I have only been able to pull up emails regarding interest in the Pacific Grove representative on the SELPA Community Advisory Committee. And that's it.
Okay, I think the board received that letter. that there was interest in that. And that is a position that represents us in SELPA for the PGUSD. And it's a 2-year term, and it has been held in the past, but now it's a chance to open it up. And it's nice sometimes to have a new perspective, new views, and allow different members of the special ed community to be involved on that level.
Yeah, thanks, Christy. So there is interest that I've heard of from families who have kids who qualify for special education. And so I do think if there is interest, since you've gotten an email and I've heard from folks as well, I think it might be prudent for the board to do perhaps an application process. I don't know if we want to do a full interview process, but at least open it up, direct staff to recruit some volunteers for the positions, and then we can either, as board decides, review the applications and decide that way, or do interviews.
And it would allow the person who's currently serving to continue, if interested, to apply again, but it would allow also others to participate.
Yeah,
Which
it's more
would be-
equitable. Mhm.
Yeah, it would be definitely equitable. Is that agreeable for the board?
Good for me.
Okay, so that direction will be given, please. Thank you, Dr. Porras.
And just to clarify, would the board like to do the process via application and then just review the applications and decide from those, or would they like applications and then to conduct interviews?
I think that's a great question.
The board has flexibility to do however you'd like to. We just need to make sure that the process is publicized when we get to that point. And you do have 2 board meetings in May and actually the first meeting in June to do this process. So you have some time.
Okay, so let's initially put out the information to get public interest and public involvement, and we can figure it out. It would be nice to review and sort of see. And obviously there'd be a lot of involvement with the special ed with Claire Davies, correct, Dr. Porras?
Yeah, and just for my vote, I'm okay with just having applications submitted, and then, you know, of course, those would be public for public record, and then the board reviewing those and deciding. I'm okay with not doing a full interview process.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Everybody in agreement on that?
I'm in agreement with that.
Okay,
Yep.
that's how we'll move forward. Thank you. So you have direction, Dr. Porras. Thank you so much.
And before you move on, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Christy. I did have some other written communications, so let me know when you'd like me to talk about those.
Okay, I'd say right now would be the perfect time.
Okay, I had a feeling. Okay, so I got some written communications. I got one about the bus transportation for the CCS high school field trip. I got one about Narcan distribution, which, just as a side note, there is free Narcan distribution happening in Seaside on April 27th. Dr. Porras did mention that at our last meeting, but why not mention it again, right? It's such an important topic. I got an email about COVID safety plan. I got an email about PG City COVID relief funding survey. An email about superintendent evaluation templates from our CSBA contact. An email about Nancy Fowler Memorial Scholarship. It was a thank you type email. And an email about strong workforce program. And that's all.
Okay, it's quite a bit. Thank you so much. Okay, we will move on now, please, to board member comments. Brian
me.
Swanson, let's start with you to the left.
I wanted to just give a tip of the hat to Sean and Jason for the PG Middle open house, which I thought was really great. It was cool just to be back in that auditorium with new families and a lot of excited kids. And one of the best parts about it was opening it up to letting some of the kids who are coming in ask questions, and their questions were great. So that was really nice to just be there for that, and then wander around the school and pop into a classroom here or there. I saw Barbara Priest putting the kids through their paces again, which was really cool, and had a nice chat with Val Hooper. So I wanted to thank them for that presentation. It was really nice.
Okay, thank you for sharing.
And I'd like to really second that. I think I went to every classroom except the gyms, and that was fantastic. That's the first time in a couple of years I've really felt the ability to walk around the school and not feel like, oh, wait, am I wearing a mask and is there a problem? And COVID's problematic. And that was really a nice feeling for a change. Also, I did come back from New York City, where members of PG High School's choir and other local choirs were joined together to form the quote Central Coast Choir to sing at Carnegie Hall. And that was a fantastic experience. And frankly, when we discuss education, you know, and we get beyond the classroom, this is something that I think that sort of a trip, which is really, you know, 50-50 with the district, but certainly involves district students. It's just fantastic that that was available. Standing on a stage like that, looking out, is certainly different and unique, and I think once in a lifetime for so many kids. But it also drives some of the things we do. You see that we have kids in USF's School of Arts and at NYU and at Pomona and some other performance schools, and they're all driven from these experiences. So it's really pretty fantastic. So, and the kids really, the children, the young adults, some of them have graduated at this point, really did the district very, very proud, in my opinion, both acting and in behavior and just being in New York, and we're fantastic. So, more than I needed to say, but thank you.
Well, I saw the picture of you in your tux, and I have to tell you, I think you represented us quite well, and it should, I wish it was up on on the monitor now so everybody could ooh and ah. It's very impressive to sing at Carnegie Hall. I can't even imagine it. What a thrill. This is my favorite time of year. It's spring, the culmination of the year, and the open houses and the honors nights and the concerts and graduations that we get to go through over the next period of time is very impressive. And it is wonderful to see kids in that movement and to not be as restricted by COVID. So that's great. Dr. Rivera.
Yeah, spring break. Welcome back, and glad to see that there was no explosions that we did not want to see. So also, I'm kind of excited to, I'm going to see if I could try to swing by the high school and see Mr. Gary's presentation. It sounds very interesting. Principal Garcia brought in the speaker. He's bringing in a speaker, and I went and kind of fiddled around the website, and it looks very inspirational. So I'm looking forward to that tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. And Mr. Paff, thank you for mentioning that choir trip. That was so cool to watch, just everybody go and collaborate and have Selena's choir and PG choir. And it's just such a wonderful kind of collaboration of minds and spirits. And it was just really cool to watch that just on my Facebook feed, just seeing so how many people were so pleased about that. So thank you for accompanying them and being a chaperone. I saw you unmute, so go ahead.
I was singing.
What?
He sang.
You sang?
He's like a celebrity. So get his autograph later at the break.
John, first I want to see you dressing in your tuxedo more often so that we're all looking so professional at the meetings, and then also hear you sing. That would be great. Okay, anyways, to my actual comments. Let's see. Oh, I attended the butterfly parade at Forest Grove, which was remarkable to see everybody together, and the staff just, wow, they really can dig into those details and coordinate so many tiny details to make a safe and super fun event happen. I'm amazed by it continuously. So thank you to the staff. Thank you to Forest Grove PTA for handing out rapid tests during that time and for coffee in the morning. And also thank you to the families for taking time to come and attend. And let's see. Oh, I have a quick question that we might bring up for future agenda. I don't know, but Community Human Services Board, Christy.
Yes.
I was on their website and I noticed that we have you, of course, we all know that you're our representative, but as for a backup person, it says vacant. So I would like to volunteer for that spot if you need to add a backup person for that board.
That sounds good. I'll remember that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And then lastly, Dr. Portas, the elections are coming up this year. 2022 is an election year for PGUSD for our board members. And so I just wanted to circle back about that, possibly adding a page to our website regarding elections that would have like the elections office link, information on the updated voter map so voters can go and just really succinctly see, you know, where they are. And then if somebody wanted to run, they could also see if their zone was open for running. what else do I have? Maybe a link to the FPPC, the terms and the trust, term lengths and trustees, and who to contact with questions, which I think is actually you, Ralph. So that's all.
If I may, could you send me that list that you just read off of what you'd like on the
Yes,
webpage?
I'd be happy
I'm
to.
sorry, I got distracted on the minutes.
It's okay.
But I glanced over to Director Algaze, and we'll work on that. But if you could get that to us, that'd be great.
Yeah,
That'd be
I
helpful
would
for
be happy
us.
to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And now superintendent report, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a couple items this evening. First off, I just want to make a note that you have a book in front of you as a gift. This is the book that the administrative team will be using for our retreat this year in June. Usually we have it in July, but we're going to do it right when the school year ends. And I do want to note that Randall Lindsay, who is one of who helped organize the cultural proficiency work that we are doing. He was co-author on this, and the other author is Dr. Trudy Arriaga, who I've worked with in presentations for AXA. She's a former first female superintendent of Ventura and school district. She is a national leader in dealing with culture proficiency, working with families and students. She also does a program called Leading While Female and does a really amazing work with them. So our hope is to have Dr. Arriaga come to our retreat and help us do a book walkthrough on this book. So I wanted to provide you a copy, and happy reading. It's a great book. I think you'll enjoy it. Also wanted to offer kudos to the middle school staff for their open house. It really was spectacular. And I have to say, I'm saying that both as the superintendent and as an incoming parent. So Callum really enjoyed being there and enjoyed the experience of walking around. His greatest nightmare now, of course, because it was brought up, is trying to figure out how to open a locker. So
Oh, yeah.
I told him I know someone who has a key that I might be able to get him a little extra practice in on the locker. So, but it really was wonderful, and the staff did just a fantastic job of creating a welcoming environment, and just so appreciative. So if you would, Principal Roach, please share kudos to the staff on our behalf. Just fantastic. And last but not least, also regarding the butterfly parade, kudos to Principal Rogaman and the staff for putting that together. It was just really wonderfully done, well orchestrated, and just amazing to watch how it all turned out. And I know the families were very happy about it as well. So kudos to the staff for that. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. When should we introduce Mr. Powley?
Oh, you can do
I
so
think
now.
that'd be now.
You can do
Cameron
it.
Powley, can you say hello as our student rep?
Hello.
There you go. I
Perhaps
just-
an introduction.
Yeah, we just want, he's not here this evening, but he's up there. So he's representing the students from the high school, and thank you so much for being here tonight. We appreciate it. Okay, now it's time for PGUSD staff comments, non-agenda items.
Good evening, Sean Keller, principal at Robert Down Elementary School. First, I'd like to thank Craig Bell, Robin Lewis, and the Kiwanis team for hosting a breakfast for Day of the Military Child. It's Purple Up Day. We've never celebrated before. And I'd like to thank all the parents and the kids who participated this morning. It's a great time. Also would like to congratulate Kevin Lee, one of our fifth graders who took second place in the Monterey County Spelling Bee. He will be representing our district at the state championships in May. We have a busy week at Robert Down. Not only did we have the breakfast yesterday, this Saturday we have the beautification day from 9 to 12 on campus. On Sunday, we begin You Oughta Love Books for Book Week. And that will lead to many, many events throughout the week, which will culminate Thursday night at our open house. We hope to see you there. And we will have our book sale in our downstairs project room. And we also have the Dairy Cow coming on Monday, which is a lot of fun. So come on by Robert Down if you have a chance.
Madam President,
Yes.
Mr. Keller, is your slide fixed?
Unfortunately, we received word from the company that they could not fix the big slide. Our crew believes that they can fix the smaller slide, and they are going to dismantle the larger yellow slide, unfortunately.
Good evening, trustees. Buck Rogeman, principal of Forest Grove. And I just wanted you to pack your busy week with another open house. Ours is going to be on Wednesday night. Starting at 6, we'll have a general address, and then parents, families, and kids will be able to visit their teachers' classrooms from 6:15 to 6:45. So if you can, cross your fingers and hope for it to rain, except for from 6 to 6:45 on Thursday, because we like to do the outdoor address so all of our families can attend at the same time. We hope you have a chance to join us, and it's just a thrill to be able to get back on campus and be around our schools again. So we look forward to seeing you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, Shane Steinbach, assistant principal at the high school. Just a couple of notes here. As you mentioned, Shamil Gary, ex-NFL player, dynamic speaker, will be coming to the high school tomorrow. If you are interested in going, the first showing starts at 8:30 and the second one is roughly 9:30. We're breaking it up. It's called our Shakespeare Schedule. We use this in the past when the Shakespeare folks come from MPC and do that. And anyway, it's in the morning where we're separating our groups, roughly 250 kids per grouping. So you can come at 8:30 or 9:30 if you wish. Roughly 20 students next Friday, April 29, will be joining myself and Mrs. Light to join the pack over at MPC. We're still taking applications from parents and students who would like to attend. May 13, we've secured Dr. Grover and Dr. Close to come to the high school. I don't know if this is absolute news to everyone, but I did want to mention it again here. We're very excited about that. Obviously, they gave a great presentation here to many parents, some students, regarding fentanyls and the dangers thereof. So they'll be coming May 13. Never too early to talk about graduation. Graduation is May 27. It's on the PGHS football field. It's going to be traditional where we're kind of like up in the bleachers. We're on the 50-yard line like we've done in the past. And we're starting that progress now. It's from 5 to 7 p.m. And last note, Matt Kelly's art students organized a ceramics exhibit on the A-wing side of the student union. If you want to check it out, it'll be there forever. But we're kind of beautifying that part of the campus, and it's really cool. It looks like from far, it looks like a mosaic, and you come up and it's actually each student's individual art piece, and it's quite beautiful. Thank you.
Clarifying question.
Not so quick.
8:30, 9:30, and Principal Garcia sent out an email about a 1:45.
Thank you for asking.
Okay.
The 1:45 is many of our sports programs, male and female sports programs. It's roughly 137 students, actually, it turned out to be. Originally, we're going to have like small groups come, and we were just like, well, we can't leave out this group. We can't leave out that group. And that's okay. So it's going to be a more focused discussion with some of our sports groups and, creating leadership acumen and that type of thing, and being leaders at the school and school culture and all of that. So it should be fantastic. Shamil will also be going to CHS in the middle of the day, and I want to say that's going to be around 11.
So would the 1:45 be okay to visit at that time?
Absolutely. It's all in the gym, by the way.
Okay.
All in the gym.
Okay. Thanks for sharing
you.
that. Oh, there, Mr. Roach, please share.
Good evening, trustees. Sean Roach, proud principal at Pacific Grove Middle School, and it was a wonderful time hosting open house. We had a great time having families back on site. I have to give kudos to the staff who did a wonderful job. It was completely positive. It was interesting because initially people kind of walked around a little scared and slowly walking down the hallways, but I think they really quickly got back into the swing of things. It was wonderful to see that normalcy going on. Appreciate the trustees showing up too. It was really wonderful to see you guys. On Tuesday at 6:30 in the Performing Arts Center, we have our honors night where we celebrate our academic excellence for our students. And then also on Wednesday, unfortunately, it's the same time as Forest Grove, but we are hosting a Q&A session for our Planned Parenthood sexual education. We will provide a link for you guys if you're interested. Anyway, tons of fun to have everybody here. Thank you, guys.
We'd appreciate that link. Thank you so much.
If I may, Sean Keller, principal at Robert Down, one more time.
Yes.
I would be remiss if I did not thank publicly Chris Staskell, one of our third grade teachers, for her 16 years of dedication to our district, not only as a teacher, but also as curriculum director when she came in. Chris has been an outstanding partner at Robert Down. We are going to miss her dearly, and we want to thank her for 30 years of education here in Pacific Grove and in the Central Valley as well. Thank you.
Thank you for mentioning that. Carolyn, do you want to read this?
Okay, I'm going to read the little disclaimer that we have for public comment. Okay, and this is for individuals desiring to address the board. Public comment on any item of interest to the public that is within the board's jurisdiction will be heard. The board will also take public comment on each specific action item prior to board action on each item. The board will allow a reasonable amount of time for public comment on each agenda item not to exceed 3 minutes per speaker and no more than 20 minutes per agenda item pursuant to board policy 9323. Speakers will be called sequentially until there is no speaker coming forward on the agenda item or the amount of time allocated for the agenda item has elapsed, whichever comes first. This meeting of the Board of Education is a business meeting of the board conducted in public. Please note that the Brown Act limits the board's ability to respond to public comment. The board may choose to direct items to the administration for action or place an item on a future agenda.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll open it now for public comment.
Hi, my name is Annette Eastak. Thank you for having me. I wanted to say, first of all, thank you to you as a board and as a superintendent and administrators and staff that help with all of the Pacific Grove schools. And my name is Annette Eastak, and I'm running for the Monterey County Board of Education, Trustee Area 1, which covers the area of Pacific Grove, all of Pacific Grove Unified, Carmel Unified, Big Sur Unified, and half of the city of Monterey, which is part of MPUSD. And I am running because I care about education, and I've dedicated pretty much all of my adult life to certainly my professional life and my volunteer life to education. First of all, as in my day job, I am a public finance professional. I work on school district bonds and help other local governments do bond financing, as well as work on their budgets, and have focused exclusively on school districts since '96. I also am an instructor for the California School Boards Association, and I've taught thousands of California school trustees, administrators, and including superintendents in the area of good governance. And lastly, but most importantly, I was a Carmel Unified board member for 27 years, first elected in '93 and retired in 2020. And during my time with Carmel Unified, our district became one of the best in the state of California. And I'm very proud of that. And they've remained that way. I'd like to help at the county level, and I'd appreciate people's support. And so thanks for having me here today. If you want to get a hold of me, www.yeastakforschoolboard.com. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for coming here tonight. I think some of us have had classes in Masters in Governance. We see all these heads nodding here. And I have the privilege of serving with Annette on Community Human Services Board. And she's absolutely a rock star. She's fabulous. She's extremely knowledgeable and would be a great representative. So thank you for coming and sharing your presence with us. We appreciate it. Okay. Any other board comment at this time? Public comment, I'm so sorry. I'm looking.
I know.
You say something.
I know, I have to say, Beth Shamas, I have to endorse Annette because when I was on the board with PG, I shared different things with Annette, with Community Human Services as well. And I just think that she's can do a fabulous job and the county will be lucky to have her.
Thank you for sharing. Any other comments at this time? Nothing virtually? Okay, we'll move forward, please, to our consent agenda. Any comments from the board or questions regarding what we have this evening? So I see none. Do we have a motion? Questions, public questions?
We need to read that statement.
I don't have to.
Good, we won't. Perfect, thank you.
Have to what? Say it.
The statement at the top that we regularly read, it's not important.
No, it's not
You're just
required.
busting my chops in front of Annette,
I'm not.
making me look bad. Consent agenda, in case you were wondering, are items listed under the consent agenda and are considered to be routine and or may have been discussed at a previous board meeting. There's no discussion of these items prior to the board vote unless a member of the board requests specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent agenda. Each item on the consent agenda approved by the Board of Trustees shall be deemed to have been considered in full and adopted as recommended.
That's for public comment.
Public comment,
And student rep.
student rep,
Oh, thank you.
that we're gonna be coming back to you, Mr. Pally, so you be ready. We'll be looking at you. Do you have any comments?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, great, thank you.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion was made by Dr. Rivera and seconded by Carolyn Swanson. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Dawson,
Aye.
trustee Rivera,
Aye.
trustee Path,
Aye.
trustee Brian Swanson. Aye. Trustee Carolyn Swanson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Student vote.
And student representative,
Aye.
thank you.
May I now ask a question on the surplus item?
Say what now?
May I now ask a question of Sean on the surplus item? I know it's not related really, it's just.
I don't want you to feel stifled in any way after Carnegie, please.
Sean Roach still on?
Sean Roach, are you there? There he is, he's waving.
So Sean, am I correct in understanding based on this consent, you are replacing the two pianos that are currently on stage with one newer, better, stronger, faster, and surplusing the two existing ones? Is that what this reads?
Yes, sir. That's absolutely what it is. This is a much better piano. The other two had some issues, so hopefully somebody else can use them and fix them.
Okay, and you have the ability to move those off without any problem?
Yes, sir. ADA ramp right outside the music room.
While you have the piano movers there, could you please pull the approximately 400-page steel innards of the last piano out of the music room?
Will do.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
We'll sneak it in the back.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for that. Okay, now we'll move on to a public hearing. Please, public hearing and approval of tentative agreement with Pacific Grove Teachers Association, the PGTA, for fiscal year 2021 to 2022. Do we have any questions, board, at this time? Any public comment? Pardon? Yeah. Any public comment at all? No. Okay, do I have a motion?
I need to close the public hearing, Madam President.
I close the public hearing. Thank you very much. And do we move on this?
Move on to the next item.
It's all one item, so now you can go ahead and call for a motion if you like.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right, I'm
Okay.
calling,
Make a motion to approve the agreement with PGTA.
Second.
Oh, that was a tie. So motion was made by trustee Paff, seconded by Carolyn Swanson. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Our student advisory vote,
Aye.
trustee Dawson,
Aye.
trustee Rivera,
Aye.
trustee Path,
Aye.
trustee Brian Swanson. Aye. Trustee Carolyn Swanson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we'll now move on to action discussion. Could we please have the district update on the response to COVID-19?
You may. Thank you, Madam President. This is going to be very brief because there's not much to report at this point in time, especially since we had break last week. I will say that, again, very grateful for the efforts of Nurse Powley and all of our sites who helped to distribute the COVID self-tests prior to the break. And once again, I think they proved useful and beneficial, and a lot of healthy kids coming back after the break, which was great. I do know that I can also report that the Monterey Fire Department is still working with Nurse Powley to offer our next vaccine booster clinic. We should have some more information hopefully tomorrow. And as soon as we have that information, of course, we'll push it out immediately to the public. We did provide, I think on the last issue of the break, the parameters for those eligible for the second booster, but if not, or if we did, we'll still repeat it anyway. So that will be reported as well. Also, a notation that the child-sized KF94 masks have been delivered to Forest Grove and Robert Down. So those are available for students as needed. And want to offer a thank you to Dr. Robin Pelk for creating the flyer that's accompanying with that for our students and staff that advertise that these masks are available for our elementary students. And so that flyer will get sent to Forest Grove and Robert Down within the hour by Nurse Powley, and that was 2 hours ago, so I'm sure it's already there. And last but not least, we had only 2 new cases, COVID cases at the high school. And so all the other cases have been resolved. The dashboard is being updated this evening, if not already. So that's going to be ready to go. So again, looking very good. And I think kudos to everyone for taking the best of care to help mitigate any other COVID cases. And last but not least, I did share with the board, and we will be putting it in the break, although people are eligible to get it from Monterey County, the most recent data again, and continuing to look good. We had a little increase in testing positivity from 1.4 to 1.9, but clearly well below the thresholds. So that can be accessed as needed. And that's all I have. And as far as a public COVID update for this week.
Okay, board comments, please. Carolyn, do you have?
I just have a quick question. So just making sure I understood correctly. So the rapid test that went out before the break, did we have, was it accurate to say that 2 people tested positive at the high school only, and all the other sites, we didn't have any
We had
reports?
no reports of positive tests come in. So I mean,
Wow.
And again, you're asking this and I haven't checked ahead of time, but as far as I know, there are none.
Okay,
And so, yeah, I think if there were students that were absent, perhaps they were reporting positive. And I don't know that was
Okay.
what it was, but
and
yeah,
if there were, it would be on the dashboard, correct? So
Yes.
once we can look there tomorrow because it gets updated on Fridays.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Here might be some answers to these questions.
Forest Grove had 1 student that tested positive before
there
they
you
came back. And we also had 1 staff member. But thankfully we had the tests. And so when we did our pool testing Wednesday, the pools all came back negative for us. So still real good numbers. Thank you.
Yes, and unfortunately at Robert Down, we had 1 case come up today with a first grader.
With the concerns we had voiced about the BA2 and what might be coming, I thought after the vacation, I was I had a bit of trepidation, but this is really great news. I mean, you'd love to have 0, but 1 here or there, pretty darn good. Mr. Roach, please share what's going on with your school.
You know, I'm glad to say not much. So we had no COVID cases among staff or students, and we came back fully negative on our pool testing.
Good news.
The important report for me really will be next meeting. That's the one that defines. whether or
Just
not-
allow me my happiness
Yeah, we
this
need a little
evening.
more
I'm
time.
good with you,
Yeah.
but I'm.
Yeah, just
I'm
for a
still-
moment, a bit of glee. It might get dour again, but let's try. All right, any other comments? Okay, thank you very much. We will move forward now to resolution number 1090, resolution ordering. Oh, I'm so sorry. Public comment on COVID. Mr. Powley, any comment?
I have no comment.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, no action is needed here. Even though it says motion, yes, so now we'll move forward. All righty. So the resolution ordering an election, requesting the county elections department to conduct the election and requesting consolidation with the November 8th, 2022 general election. I know his name.
It's not that, it's just that way you'll see it every time you look up just for public comment. And
Every time I don't
This is
ask
not
for
you.
public
This is what I have to
comment.
do and what I had to do for.
Since you called me Christy Swanson many times, that's
I
okay.
know, exactly.
Many times. All right. Dr. Porras,
If I'm happy to answer any questions as you like, this is a usual resolution request that comes this time of year. We're required by the elections office to have an approved and passed resolution to engage in the election process. So that's there for you. The supporting documents simply just give us when the terms were, who the trustees are. And then we have a revised redistricting map, the teal map. And this map will be revised even further, as there is a school noted on there that is Sen Kant High School, which none of us know exactly what that is. However, I talked to the demographer and our attorney about an hour and a half before this meeting, and they'll do one last one with our school sites accurately noted. He did point out that it's not typical for having the school sites listed specifically, but I know it's important for the board. So it doesn't affect the outcome of this resolution, but just letting you know, we'll have the accurate map sent to the county when I submit the details, pending board approval, of course.
okay, board comments? Questions?
No.
Okay, none at this time. Public comment? Okay, before you start, Cameron, I'm going to be bugging you every time, so be ready. Do you have a comment, Cameron?
I do not have a comment at this time.
Thank you so much. Public comment?
Beth Schmass. On page 59, under the third whereas down from the top, it says that Ed Code requires the board to establish whether a tie vote of 2 or more candidates for a term of office shall be determined by lot or by calling a runoff election. So does that mean at the time it happens, the board decides what you're going to do, flip a coin or call for another election? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm thinking that when you reduce the amount of voters, because each district is going to be small, it could be easy to have a tie, because you'd just have fewer voters in that area. And so I was just wondering about that, like, I don't think I'd like it if I had to wait on a flip of a coin, but anyway, I mean, I know that it is done.
Yeah, Rochambeau.
It is done. It's not, obviously it's a legal method, but I just wonder, like, it's giving you the choice here. So does that mean that you will decide when it happens, or do you decide now? I don't know. That jumped out at me.
Can I comment on that comment?
Of course you may.
Okay, and I actually had that circled in my packet as well, so that's why I'm hyping up. But I noted that on the statement of election facts that we send to the county, we actually do select, in case of a tie vote, the winner will be determined by lot, and that box is checked. So we have set forth that that's our plan. Ralph, do you mind just clarifying really quickly for the public what a lot determination would look like?
It's like a paper vote. And it's drawn out as a lot. Yeah. So it's,
Thank you.
it's like a gamble, I guess. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out, Trustee Swanson.
So do I understand this right then? If there is a tie, and it could be, right? Because who would have ever thought we would have seen the things we've seen in the last few years? And when you reduce that voting pool down to what could be 300 people, you never know. It's like, so is it, it's decided by the board members that were elected? Is that, or
Random.
I don't understand.
The names are put into the tie.
Oh, you mean
name of the
we're actually
candidate.
pulling a name out of a hat?
That's a
That's
lot.
how.
Oh, I didn't get that either.
Well, I know, but it's like, okay,
It's
I
like you
just-
could flip a coin, I suspect, but that's.
yeah. Like
It's
they do
never-
at city council, they just flip a coin, right?
Yeah, same idea.
Yeah, okay,
We make sure that all the papers are folded perfectly, so
yeah.
couldn't feel.
Have you done it before or is
We have
this
not.
you
I-
just thinking how
It
this
has,
would be?
has happened in my former district, and it was by
Ah.
lot,
Well, how about that?
a long time ago, in a district far, far away. 7-member board.
Beth Shamas, what would you say?
I would just say that if I'm running, I think I would like to know that ahead of time. Just, in some, I don't know that they would mention that in a candidate, in a forum or the elections department. I don't know that they would really mention that to a candidate. I think it'd be good for them to know ahead of time rather than find out like, oh, guess what?
Oh, well, sorry to comment again, but Ralph, if it's okay with you and with the board, when I mentioned at the top of the meeting to have an elections page, we could put a little disclaimer regarding that. And I scribbled it to add it as long as you guys are okay adding that.
I think that's nice,
Okay.
especially with the new things going on. Anything we can do to educate the public about the districts, about the manner in which the election is run, I think it's only helpful.
And the elections department this information will be listed on the ballot. It'll appear in their description sheet. It did last time anyway, so. the more
Well,
they
but
have-
people like us who are reading a lot, I thought it was a vacant lot. I thought I might win some property if I,
Well, that's
okay, I
good.
got a tie.
Good point.
Wow, okay, I learned something new. Okay, any other comments at this time virtually? Okay, no comments. Do we need a motion on this, please?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Okay, motion was,
May I make an amendment?
yes, please.
The section we were discussing there is in fact ambiguous as to what Pacific Grove is choosing to do. And I think specifying that explicitly would be useful. So on that paragraph, whereas Ed Code Section 5016 requires the board to establish a tie vote, whether a tie vote of 2 or more candidates for a term of office shall be determined by lot or by calling a runoff, comma, Pacific Grove Unified School District has chosen to use the method by lot, semicolon, and whereas, continuing on.
I really like that because this document might not always accompany the second document. So that was really good. Yeah, that's my
Whose
comment.
motion was it, Frank?
Can you say it again, please?
Motion to approve with suggested amendment.
Okay. And,
Second.
okay, so the motion with amendment was made by Dr. Rivera and seconded by Carolyn Swanson. Roll call vote, please.
Moment, if I may.
Oh, sure. Got a lot of jobs going on.
Well, I
with
just
my-
wanna make
this is
sure-
Multitasking
Make sure I
at
got
its
it correct
best.
over here. Student advisory vote.
Aye.
Trustee Dawson,
Aye.
Trustee Rivera,
Aye.
Trustee Path,
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson. Aye. Trustee Carolyn Swanson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we'll move on to approval of meet and confer agreement with the Management Administration Group.
Thank you, President Dawson. This is a meet and confer agreement with Management Administration Group, which represents both certificated management and classified management. Appreciate Director Martinez in representing the group. They have really good representation back to the full group and they voted. Now, the highlights are on page 63. But there is a slight change, and the page has been posted on the website and is available to the public, and also is given to the board. Is item number 2 is to clarify the process, doesn't change the outcome or the real bottom line of their agreement. Is just quickly to go through the highlights of this meeting agreement. Is 5% increase to salary schedule, consistent with PGTA. Increase of health and welfare premium from $3,000 to $4,200 as a district contribution, as opposed to allowance. So that's the change to clarify the process. And the third item is about sick leave incentive that has been done away, but in exchange for that, the group will get a $240 increase per person from $500 to $740. That's per year per person that the group can use that for professional development, classes, professional development classes. The next item is complete care. Just to clarify, complete care is a reimbursement program. It's part of Mystic health plans, but it's a reimbursement program. It's just to re-clarify the dollar amount. Currently is $428 per month, which equates to $5,136 per year. And with this agreement, it will go down to $2,560 per month on a 10-month basis, or $213 per month on a 12-month basis, because the dollar amount is $2,560 per year. And if you're on a 10-month work calendar, would be a different amount than a 12-month work calendar. And everything else, all provisions in the agreement stays the same. And with that, just open up for if anybody has any questions.
No questions at this time. Public comment? Cameron, do you have any questions?
Not at this time, no.
Thank you so much. Entertain a motion, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Dr. Frank Rivera and seconded by trustee Carolyn Swanson. Roll call vote, please.
Student advisory vote,
Aye.
trustee Dawson,
Aye.
trustee Rivera,
Aye.
trustee John Path,
Aye.
trustee Brian Swanson,
Aye.
trustee Carolyn Swanson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Oh, Barbara Martinez, please. Yeah, she's muted.
Yeah, she needs to.
There you go.
There you go. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Barbara Martinez, principal of Pacific Grove Adult School, and part of representing the management team in the meet and confer. I would love to be there in person to thank all of you in person, but I am without a vehicle this evening, so I'm here via Zoom. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of all administration. We really do appreciate you approving this meet and confer. And we know that this is always a thoughtful decision and a lot of discussion goes into this and a lot of time. So thank you on behalf of all management and PGUSD.
You're welcome. Any other comments at this time? Okay. Next, we'll move on to the approval of the Assistant Superintendent's 21-22 contract amendment and retroactive compensation adjustment. Dr. Porras?
Just waiting for the, no, waiting
I'm-
for permission
I'm-
to speak, Madam President.
I'm looking at you.
Thank
I
you.
should be more verbal. Dr. Porras, please chime in.
Thank you, Madam President. I am, we're presenting to you for approval this evening, the recommendation to approve the retroactive compensation agreement for the Assistant Superintendent, Ms. Song Chin Ben Dib. And as noted in the cover sheet, and the contract is available in the packet as well, as it is required to be brought forward in an open meeting of a regular meeting of the board. And we're making the request that's similar to all of the other bargaining units. Again, noted there for you. There is a change in the term. We are aware that our assistant superintendent will be retiring in September. So the terms have changed just a little bit for you in the contract. Also requesting that 5% increase in salary. The actual dollar figures are noted for you explicitly in the contract cover as well as in the contract draft. And that the assistant superintendent shall also be entitled to receive the healthcare allowance that has been offered to the other bargaining units as well. So pretty much commensurate with the classified and certificated bargaining units.
Thank you. Questions by the board at this time?
It's been discussed. Thanks.
I don't have any questions, just thank you to Song for the work you do, and I wish you were going to be with us longer.
Yeah, we're voting against this retirement thing. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Dr. Porras,
have-
and thank you, board.
You have to hear it from us. That's it. Okay, anything else? Okay, Cameron, do you have anything?
No.
Thank you so much. Public comment? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Make a motion to accept the new contract for Song Chinben Dip as assistant superintendent.
I'll second.
Wow, I'm going to go down to Brian, give him a little
Brian.
time here. So motion was made by trustee Paff, seconded by trustee Brian Swanson. Roll call vote, please.
Student advisory vote,
Aye.
trustee Dawson,
Aye.
trustee Rivera,
Aye.
trustee Path,
Aye.
trustee Brian Swanson,
Aye.
trustee Carolyn Swanson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Next, we'll move on to approval of superintendent's 21-22 contract amendment, terms of service and retroactive compensation adjustment. I'm looking to Dr. Porras.
Actually, this is
I'm
one that
gonna
you had
look
presented.
to
Be a little
me.
disingenuous for me to
Oh.
present my own contract item
Okay,
as much as I would like to.
can't blow your own horn, or in trustee Paff's case, sing your own song. So I will say it is recommended that the board review and approve this contract, and it very much matches what was just referred to by Dr. Porras regarding Song's contract, except he's not leaving us. He's staying with us. So the length of it will go forward. Any questions by the board? Oh, yes, we did have one thing. Did you want to share that? Or I'll share that the termination language,
Yeah, Ralph, have you heard back?
Yes, it is allowed. It is allowable.
then we demand it. We absolutely demand on page, was it
80.
80?
Yeah. so
There's
they-
9A.
9A, superintendent may terminate superintendent's obligations under this agreement by giving the district at least 30 days notice in advance, and we're changing that to 2,000.
I'll recall that
Okay.
number, actually.
Okay, should we bump to 60?
60
Is it
days.
pushing it 90? Do I hear 90? Okay, 60 we'll take tonight.
60.
All right, so do I have a motion
If-
for this?
If I
Oh,
may,
yes.
I want to note, because again, it's open session, so I want to make clear.
Yes.
In this contract revision, there is no $1,200 allowance that's included as part of this compensation adjustment. So
Thank you for bringing that up. All right. Any board comments?
No, I just, yes, I guess I do, just to make clear to the public, maybe one more time, just to acknowledge the note that we just made. And actually, I guess we can do that in the motion, but I just want to make it clear that we, the version in the packet listed 30 days written notice in advance if the superintendent were to terminate his obligations, and the discussion we just had would make it so that it would be a 60-day notice to the district and the board if he were to
And
terminate.
I think that should be in the motion as well. Yeah, with that amendment. Cameron, do you have any comments?
Not at this time.
Okay, public comment? Say what now?
Nope.
Well, I do. I really want to
Please, trustee Paff.
thank both Ralph and Song for their service. The last 2 years, last 3 years have been
Last 15.
insanely crazy. And frankly, we are now getting through where we get to thank the teachers and basically all of our staff with increases in compensation, and you guys have done an admirable job in getting us there, and really appreciate that. So.
Thank you.
And I learned
really
early,
appreciate From Sally
Oh,
as well.
sorry.
Oh, it's all good. So.
and I learned earlier today that since 1945, Ralph is the longest serving superintendent in this district by a solid couple of years. And we're going to continue for the record.
Mhm.
All right. Any other comments? Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion on, usually I say on staff's recommendation, but this isn't recommended by staff. So I'll make a motion on Christy Dawson's recommendation with the notes on page 80 of the packet. It's item 9A that we're changing from 30-day written notice in advance of termination to 60 days.
Second.
Motion was made by trustee Carolyn Swanson and seconded by Dr. Frank Rivera. May I please hear a roll call vote?
Student advisory vote,
Aye.
trustee Dawson,
Aye.
trustee Rivera,
Aye.
trustee Path,
Aye.
trustee Brian Swanson,
Absolutely.
trustee Carolyn Swanson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Cha-ching,
If I may, Madam President. I
please.
simply want to express gratitude to the board for this. As always, it's a pleasure to serve, and it's been my pleasure to serve this district for the time that I have, and hope to continue forward. And appreciate the board's support in everything that we do as a staff. It's deeply felt and appreciated. So thank you.
Well, and the board absolutely echoes what trustee Paff said earlier. It's wonderful to have you here, and Song, it's been incredible. So the service is greatly appreciated each and every day. Thank you.
Echo Dr. Porras's sentiments. Thank you, board.
Okay, next we'll move to board calendar and future meetings.
No action is required as we haven't changed this item since the last time. So unless the board would like to make changes or adjustments, then now would be the time.
Yes, Dr. Rivera.
If the rest of the board is okay, the September 24th board retreat meeting, I would like it to be moved either to the following or the previous weekend. It's just a bad weekend for me.
Oh, I think I'm out of the country, so ditto. But I don't think, I mean, that's just doesn't it say TBA, like that's it's not in stone. And there can't be a party without us. Okay, so we'll just keep that in mind as we move forward. Okay, all right, let's now move to information and discussion. And we'll begin this evening with review of mission trails, JPA and CTE with Shane Steinbach.
All righty. Shane Steinbach, assistant principal at the high school. Bear with me here. I have to share my screen. Uh-oh. Minimize that. Show that. Okay. Alrighty, so I'm here to talk about a little bit of history and the background of our CTE program, Cte Pathways, and the Mission Trail JPA. Okay, so I'm going to start with our background. So our CTE mission is to provide robust CTE pathways so students can be prepared for life after college. The purpose of a CTE pathway is to connect academic learning to real-world applications. Fundamental steps have been taken with respect to our CTE programs. These steps involve decision-making with a student-centered focus. The primary goals include providing a pathway to college and career readiness. Students that take an introductory, a concentrator, and a capstone course can then be deemed by the state as college and career ready if they have their A through G. There's other ways to do it as well. They can get a 3 or 4 on the SBAC, for example. They can take an AP class, take the test and do well on that, for example. There are other ways, but this is really, really good for students, some of our target groups potentially that don't take AP classes. Another way to do it is to take a dual enrolled class. And currently, over the last 3 to 4 years, we've had anywhere between 9 to 11 dual enrolled classes. there's something that is common about all of those dual enrolled classes. All of them are in the CTE program currently right now. We're looking to expand that, but currently, as we sit right now, they're all in the CTE pathway with hard work from Mrs. Erickson, Miss Laura, and Miss Richmond. Provide skills for our students to potentially gain employment experience, earn internships and or industry licenses and certifications, and gain college credit while in high school through dual enrolled classes. As with many lofty ventures, it takes time, coordination with outside agencies, particularly MPC in this case, and funding. Okay. Coordination and funding. PGHS has provided between 9 to 11 dual enrolled courses through its relationship with MPC since 2018. PGUSD has been applying for and receiving incentive grants from the state by providing CTE completer data and adhering to the incentive grant criteria for several years. These incentive grants include the Perkins application or the Perkins grant. This is the backbone of most of the incentive grants. You can't get other grants without having the Perkins grant. We are currently in a consortium with Carmel Unified School District with Perkins. CTIG grant, the Career Technical Education Incentive Grant. If you think back to our culinary remodel, roughly one third roughly of that project was paid for via the CTE grant, for example. The largest sum of monies that we get from the state related to CTE pathways is from CTIG. There is the Strong Workforce Program grant as well, encourages collaboration between districts and local community colleges. PGUSD is already engaging in all these programs except the Save the Strong Workforce Program. It was my intention to start the Strong Workforce Program, which typically is due the application in the middle of October this year. Okay, the pandemic got in the way. It takes bandwidth to be able to do these things. I'm the CTE coordinator, and it is my intention to get into Strong Workforce Program next year. Okay. Coordination and funding, we're receiving roughly $25,000 from Perkins next year. However, we split that with Carmel, so it's roughly about $12,500. Okay. We're receiving $94,989 from CTIG next year. We just received the GAN at the DO, and we have until December 31 of 2023 to spend those funds. We're currently encumbering those funds and allocating those as we deem necessary throughout the CTE program. It's also good to mention here that every single penny of this money goes to our CTE program, which benefits our students. Every single penny goes to helping our programs grow, reflecting the infrastructure MPC. That's the idea behind CTE. Song has been so nice as to help us out with many of these ventures and matching these. For example, I mentioned the culinary remodel, which is kind of pictured in 3 of those pictures below there. You know, the district stepped up big time. It was basically a 3-to-1, possibly even a 4-to-1 ratio that the district paid for that. You know, we allocated some and they stepped up and helped us out with the rest. At the site level, we have increased the amount of CTE funds from roughly $2,000, you know, dating back like 2 years ago to up to $13,000. We have more money for the CTE program than we do actually to run the whole school. We have a lot of funding and we're doing well, you know. I had a meeting with Bill Guthrie and Robert Appel. Bill Guthrie is a representative from Hartnell College and connected to the Mission Trail Jpa, and Robert Appel is his counterpart at MPC. And they confided in me that they sometimes use our CTA pathway illustration to kind of, hey, check this out. Look what PGHS is doing. You know, can we get there? Not many schools are where we are, where we have introductory, concentrator, capstone courses. You know, we're well beyond the norm here. For such a small school, it surprises the heck out of me. You know, Sean Keller started this, you know, before I took it over, and Barbara Martinez before him. And I took it over and they passed me the football and I said, let's go. And it's just been growing since then. Okay. And with our ongoing relationship with MPC, we currently have a dual enrolled courses. And with our ongoing relationship with MPC, we currently have several dual enrolled courses students can take in culinary, photo, computers classes. MPC reimburses PGUSD on average anywhere between $2,000 to $6,000 per year as an incentive to provide these opportunities to our students. These funds have provided for, the left side there is called anatomage. It's for an anatomy physiology course. It is super cool. If you ever get an opportunity to go to N1 where Mr. Lujan's in right now teaching healthcare occupations and therapeutic services, it's basically a giant computer. It's a touch screen. Two individuals gave their body to science and they basically digitally enhance the body. I don't know. It's absolutely amazing. You can move the body all over the place and look at the skeletons and the nervous system and cut it in half and stuff. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's amazing. Stanford has one. Yale has one. You know, all of the great schools throughout our country. We're the only school that I know of on the peninsula, certainly, that has this device, and CTIG money is paid for it. It's fantastic. Obviously, you guys know about the culinary remodel. I mean, you go into that three years ago when you went in that culinary, it looked like a, you know, home ec place. You know, it's like, okay, this looks like a fantastic culinary institution that students step into, and they feel it. You know. They reflect their surroundings, I should say. You know, it's fantastic. And Erickson's done a fantastic job. They play for enlargers, things like this. These enlargers that you're seeing here, each one of these is $2,600 a piece. And Mrs. Laura uses that in her photo darkroom. Our next big project is to, we're attempting to secure funds from Measure D, as we did with the culinary remodel. We're going to put $35,000 from CTIG into a photo remodel, and we really need to redo our photo darkroom and make it reflect MPC's facilities. Moving on to the Mission Trail JPA. One of the primary functions of the JPA is to provide collaborative opportunities to districts between local colleges and the district. Other functions include the sharing of grants between the districts within the JPA. Mission Trail JPA currently has 7 districts: Carmel, Monterey, South Monterey, North Monterey. Salinas, don't remember the rest. Sorry, it's in there somewhere. Gonzalez, thank you so much. Mission Trail ROP JPA agreement document section 5 administration B page 3. It's actually page 103 of the board packet. If we could go there, page 103 of the board packet. It's actually page 3 of the actual MOU document. Some of the fiscal responsibilities that a district would be required if to join the JPA is 5% of grant awarded to each participating district must be allocated to the fiscal agent. In this case, the fiscal agent of the Mission Trail JPA is Salinas Unified. Okay. Page 12, if you go a couple pages down, it's page 112 of the board packet, outlines related financial requirements related to liability insurance costs. I have not had an opportunity to look into exactly what that means. I've been busy. I'm sorry. CASP is coming up next week and that type of thing. I did my darndest to come in here as prepared as possible, but I'll be out in front. I do not know exactly what the responsibility is related to liability insurance costs. Page 16, 116 of the board packet. This is where we're going to stay here for a while. It outlines the roughly $11.7 million that is allocated to the Mission Trail JPA and is then divided amongst the 7 different districts. it outlines this piece. I'm going to use Carmel as an example here. Using Carmel High School as an example, out of a total enrollment of 845 students, we have currently 559 students last time I checked, okay, at the high school. Carmel has 845. Carmel is able to enroll 378 students into various CTE courses. That's quite a bit. They're doing a pretty good job. On average, we get about anywhere between 200 to 250, 300's pretty high. I would say 250 is about our average here at our high school. Distribution of funds from the Mission Trail JPA is based on the total number of students enrolled in CTE courses. Okay. If we stay on page 116, this reflects funds allocated to the districts. As I mentioned, the amount of funds allocated to Carmel this year was $367,603, which accounts for 3.32% of the total amount of the JPA's secured grant funds for this given year, roughly out of the 11.5 million you see there. Currently, PGUSD is receiving a total grant allocation of approximately $111,826. That's a combo between Perkins that you see there, roughly the 12.8, the 94,989 from CTIG. I should mention that really quickly, bear with me. 3 years ago, we received $178,000 from CTIG, okay? Last year, we received about 58, and the year before, about 63. Then we bumped back up, as you can see, to 94. It's been a little bit all over the place. I can't tell you why. I'd like to say it's because we're doing well and we have more completers, and they look at my application and they say we're doing well, but I don't know, you know? The point being is the CT grant fluctuates a bit. And I would also say that because the JPA is reliant upon, the Mission Trail JPA is reliant upon these same grants, their fluctuation is probably very similar to what I'm seeing from year to year. I also threw in there conservatively $4,000 from MPC reimbursement. I had mentioned earlier, we get 2,000 to 6,000. That's a conservative number there. With the addition of what I intend to do in October next year with the Strong Workforce Program grant, we estimate a total between 151,000 to roughly 191,000. Okay, so bottom line, that's what we're looking at currently right now. Working semi-independently with a consortium with Carmel Unified, that's what we look at from year to year. We estimate PGUSD would receive anywhere between 1% to 2% of the Mission Trail JPA's total allocation of funds based on our average number of students enrolled in CTE related courses each year. Like I mentioned, between 200, 300, we got to be really lucky to get 300, but let's use 250 as an example. We're right in the middle there. At the low end, I estimate we'd get from the JPA about 110, high end 221. That's the end of my presentation. I had a meeting with Robert and Burr about a month ago, and it went very well. They advised me on the benefits of the Mission Trail JPA. I was given some history of the reasons why we exited from the JPA in a year I can't remember right now, from Dr. Porras and Mr. Bell and Mr. Keller and Ms. Martinez. And now we're here. You know, we've been doing well independently, but this is just information, and I leave it to the board to direct me.
Okay, let's open for questions. Trustee Path.
So in your conversation with Dr. Porras, Ms. Martinez, Mr. Keller, and Mr. Bell, why did we leave the GPU?
At the time, these fundings were not as liquid, from what I understand. Okay, and from what I also understand, that the benefits we were receiving at the time we weren't reaping the benefits at the time to be able to to maintain our enrollment in the JPA. Trustee Path.
I can fill in a little more if you like.
Sure.
And actually, Beth, you were on the board at the time when it was,
You were on the board at the time, so this goes back to 2008.
I think it was 2009 that we did it, right in that range. No. Yeah.
But I was the representative to the
Right.
the whole time.
Yep.
But I don't know why it was,
Yep.
and you must have exited after.
It might have been. I want to say it has to be past 2009, but
It was
yeah.
like 2010, because I was part of the JPA for at least a year or two, and I started 08, 09.
That's right.
So I believe it was like 10, and it was when we were really looking strong at our budgets. And Mr. Blakely was our CBO at the time, and we really looked very hard at, the benefits. And it didn't make sense for us to stay in it at that time.
And 2008, 9, 10 were crisis years.
Yes.
Yes.
So anything we could do to bring it directly in was probably beneficial. I'll let you continue your explanation without jumping to conclusions. Sorry.
No, that's okay. You have, it's exactly right. We spent a lot of time negotiating. In fact, JP was not exactly thrilled that we left. But it benefited us absolutely, because we were not really, as we started growing, as we started shifting our funding, things were changing and being basic aid. Eventually we were on the losing side of the allocations, and it was becoming onerous in regards to our budget.
Thank you. One more, please.
Of course.
The cover sheet on this, I have to go back to it. States whether to remain in consortium with CUSD or consider joining Mission Trail Joint JPA. But it appears, based on the later documents, that Carmel Unified has already agreed to join the JPA. Is that correct?
Carmel is already part of the Mission Trail JPA. However, my assumption is that we would then fall out a consortium for Perkins now with Carmel if we were to join the Mission Trail JPA. That was more of an information for the board, to remind us that we are currently in a consortium with Carmel.
Okay, so we lose our, it's only two of us, so let's call it a partnership. We lose our partnership with CUSD, but gain a partnership with the rest of the 7 members.
That is my understanding.
Okay. And the net sum appears to be close to break even.
Somewhat negligible. I will say this, they've progressed since we've left, to be sure. $11.5 million is nothing to shake your head at. However, if I could speak frankly, my worry is with our declining enrollment. We have roughly about 120 freshmen coming in next year. We have roughly about 140 seniors. The trend is going, as you know. Mr. Bell reminded me that, oh, well, that's great. You have 120, but you're going to end up with probably 108 by the time they're sophomores, juniors, because of attrition and things like that. Maybe possibly students going to CHS and military families moving out and that type of thing. So, not to sway you away from joining the Mission Trail JPA, but that is the discussion that I've had with several administrators.
Okay, and why does that reflect differently than trying to create your own grant program?
Reflects differently because the allocation of funds from the Mission Trail JPA are directly associated with the amount of students that are enrolled in CTE classes for a given year.
Yeah, but that would be true even if you're applying for your own CTE.
Not necessarily.
Thanks. Sorry, that was more.
And
that's fine.
Trustee Path, if I could continue with that really quick. It's been my experience that the amount of completers that we have isn't necessarily the end all of how much money we get. It's the growth that we show from year to year, for example, not only in the number of students that are completers, but the criterion in which we are meeting for the 13-point system that they use. And that is generally more around, what are you doing for target group of students? What are you doing with your pathways? Do you have introductory, capstone, and concentrator courses, which we do? How many dual enroll classes have you had over the years? We're increasing more and more and more. That's where it's at, you know.
Okay, so, I'm sorry.
Please,
The
pretend we're not here,
continuing-
John. You
continuing-
go ahead.
I'm trying not to.
No,
I mean,
I'm
our
kidding.
percent of students is roughly the same as Carmel, right? You said it's 389 out of 825, that's 45, and 250 out of 525 is 43, 5, 44, something like that. I'm doing it in my head, but it's about the same. So we're not really changing that. And their student distribution, student body is going to decrease with ours. I mean, this is not Pacific Grove losing students. This is the state of California. We don't know where they're going, right? I mean, I could ask Ralph, do you know where they're going? But he'd say, no, no one knows. They're just,
Let's use Salinas Unified for an example.
except Salinas Unified.
So they have 16,500 in the whole district. They have 7 total schools within the district. It's likely that their numbers will increase while our numbers either, you know, conservatively stay the same or go down. I don't know. That's of concern to me, because if you're sharing a pile of money and other schools are increasing in numbers, you know.
Okay, I appreciate that, but I think that problem is independent of when and where you apply.
Sure.
My take would be, if the state is seeing that you have 100 students, whereas last year you had 200 students, and they're putting funds out, they're going to say the same thing. It doesn't matter if we go through a JPA or not. And in the end, you know, if you take it to a illogical extreme and say, well, we only have 1 student, then you're getting a benefit from that. You know, somewhere in between it changes the other direction.
My question is about fluidity. I mean, as you're running this and seeing what students might be moving towards at certain times, and then as they move throughout, do you have a better ability to pivot in the program where we are now and make changes within your offerings?
I can't answer that because I don't know, right? If we were to join the Mission Trail JPA, I don't know if there's, like, for lack of a better phrase, extra red tape, right? I've heard from history of the JPA that we had to make a fair amount of reports and expenditure reports and this type of thing, which is, and if I can dovetail really quick, this is what I do, right? As a CTE coordinator, I write the grants, I do expenditure reports. It takes up a lot of my time, right? I mean, I'll be honest with you. If we were to join the Mission Trail JPA, I wouldn't have to do that anymore, but I don't mind doing that, you know, that because I know it's for the kids and I know it's for our program, that type of thing. So to answer your question, I don't know if there's going to be additional layers that we can't pivot and make moves if we're in a Mission Trail JPA. I imagined, at least to a certain degree, if we're trying to allocate funds and do this, that, and the other, it may be a little tricky if we're trying to get funds from a different district and that district is then giving us funds here. Currently, right now, it is very tough to get the money from the state to MCOE, MCOE give our money. I mean, I had to wait 7 months to get the GAN for CTIG, for example, from the state. And we won't receive the money from MCOE till song. I mean, it's
Right, it does take time, but in terms of general, with CTIC, I have experienced that from my prior districts. You have to really the manpower, you know, to take that on. Mr. Path talk about maybe we can partner with Carmel to apply for that. First of all, you have to have the bandwidth in terms of the program and a lot of other criteria set by as a JPA. And the other piece that I'm more familiar with is with the fiscal agent. It's good to have the money, 5% with $11 million, but then, you know, this is hundreds of thousands. But given just the capacity we have now, we're down 50% in my department, we using subs. You have to have really the momentum now to prepare all the documentation, to show all the financial statements, could go a number of years, to do all the different calculations, just to get going, just one small step. So that's just one small piece, whether we can be on our own, just two member districts to go on our own. That's why you have a consortium. I'm aware of Mission JPA because when I was in Alameda, they seem to be pretty well run. But without looking into that, perhaps in the future we can, the CBO can look into it, whether we can be our own fiscal agent, but I don't think we can do it now.
Okay, I'm more confused now than I was when I started. When I read this, I thought, well, we stay where we are. I can't understand kind of where we are with this. I see Barbara's head nodding a lot. I mean, what
President Dawson, we've been functioning very well independently in a consortium with Carmel and Perkins. We've had hundreds of thousands of dollars come our way from the state over the last 5 years. And that's a result of, writing the grants, working independently with our CTE teachers. It is nice for a CTE coordinator like myself to be able to sit down in a room with my 5 teachers and say, what are our needs? How can we help our target students? And kind of take it home, take it from there, bring it out to other groups like parent groups and students and that type of thing. I can't imagine what it would be like working with 7 different districts like that. I'm confident in what we're doing now. I'm not trying to sway you away from the Mission Trail JPA because I've never lived it, but I think we're in a good place right now.
okay, that helps me a lot. Thank you.
Yeah.
I got it, but it's nice to have an opinion. Other questions or comments?
Yeah, I just, so it seems like, it looks like declining enrollment is happening. We're going to see that at the high school. And that's pretty much a guarantee as to how much we would be allocated the funds. And the statement you said earlier that I feel comfortable with is that the funds, if we're independent, aren't necessarily tied to the number of students that it serves. And that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable about staying independent. I just wanted to make that comment.
Yeah. Trustee Carolyn?
I have a lot of notes. Thank you for presenting this, Shane. I really appreciate this coming up to the board. CTE classes are very important to me. And I'm sure they are to you and everyone else here on the board. So I would actually I'm going to try to cut to the chase and not ask all my questions. I'm going to try to cut to the chase and ask my main point, which is what I would like to see is us invite the JPA to present so that we can get a feel for where they are currently, because what we're operating off of is antiquated information regarding them, which is no fault of yours whatsoever. It's their job to present, right, their information and to know it intimately. So I would like to invite them come and then have a discussion about the timing of that, because I hear what Song is saying with the timing of her department being low staffed. And I also just want to acknowledge to Shane and also Lita, who's not here, that you guys have a lot on your plate. You're keeping our kids safe and educated on a day-to-day basis. And so making this decision, which is regarding academics, which is of course one of our, in my opinion, safety comes first and then academics, but it's a big priority, right? So I would like that opportunity for them to come back so that we can really hear and understand the educational upsides, the possible financial downsides or financial upsides, and the staff bandwidth ups and downs. So that's what I would like to see.
I think Burr and Robert would be more than happy to do that. Absolutely.
So board, would you be open to that? So we can all wrap our heads around this, make a really informed decision?
Yeah, she's asking you.
I'm indifferent to having somebody else present. I think the question is really, what else do we get if we join a different consortium that we wouldn't have? Do we have the ability to expand? I'm willing to take less money if we can add 5 more classes, right? And Matt Kelly is part of the CTE tracks, right?
Yes.
As well. I don't think we mentioned him earlier. And does tremendously good work. So really what, we have 3 right now?
5 total pathways.
5: hotel, culinary, art.
Patient care, culinary, art, photo, computer science.
No, photos are separate. Yeah. So do we get to expand that and at what cost? I mean, I guess one way is to have them present, but I think that really we need to be reviewing.
We can direct staff to include that on their, on their information.
If I may, in my experience, expansion is based on the instructor that is capable of teaching a CTE course. If we had a drafting class, my goodness, like that's one of Mr. Garcia's visions, is to bring back, wood shop drafting, that kind of thing. And I spent, the better part of a year prior to the kind of going into the beginning of the pandemic, actually, of working with some of my colleagues and trying to find. I had a meeting with the representatives from Hartnell, for example. It's really hard to find those people. I think it's less of a funding issue and more of a finding that diamond in the rough. I just wanted to add that.
Well, on that specific item, do we not have the computer class above the wood shop available with drafting from MPC at this point?
We have the facilities to do so.
He's no longer coming in from MPC.
Oh, we never, in my experience we had robotics.
Yeah, but how about
robotics?
Definitely had a class in there.
Adult school. Sorry about that.
Thanks.
Brian, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just kind of confused.
I'm so confused.
Well, I don't necessarily need that. A few things here, just in random questions that I was scribbling down. Is there a particular deadline that we're facing to join Mission Trails?
I want to say it's December.
Okay.
Okay. So if we wanted to join for 23-24, we'd have to work with Bill and Robert leading into, over the summer and into the fall.
Okay. And let's say we do join and we discover that it was not what we expected it to be. What sort of, how disruptive do you think that is if we come in and then go, oh, this was not what we thought it was, and we want to untie that?
I don't know.
I can answer. I can
Thank
help with that if you like.
Yeah, please.
The JPA's all set that as part of their agreement process.
Mhm,
When we left the JPA with Mission Trails the first time, it was about a year
mhm.
of advance notice. So it's not an easy process to extricate yourself. I don't know what I'd have to read this JPA document to know. Just in part of an earlier conversation, I think right now, just on my first read of it and review of it, when we were talking about this initially, it appears to remain our benefit to remain in status quo. Typically, I think, as Barbara could talk a little bit in regards to other consortium, things get really complicated when you're sharing funds, and when enrollments change and conditions change. It's not as easy as just simply being in a great group and everyone's amicable. People start to strong arm for funding, and it is not entirely it should not be unexpected to not get the same kind of funding that you had previously when the funds are being shared out and about.
Mhm.
Currently, we have a greater control of our funding regardless of our enrollment, as long as we can continue to do the reports as we're required to do, that type of thing. And I think for a district our size, as again, Vice Principal Steinbeck noted, we are flush with program for a district our size. It's not typical to see. And there's at this point, no foreseeable future, we're going to see a decline in that as long as we have this funding available. I think it may be wise to remain in where we are currently, because I think we get more flexibility, greater access to funds, and we're not subject to the push and pull that can happen in a consortium, especially with 7+ schools.
Okay.
Just a thought from my direction. I think Principal Martinez could probably speak to the experience of the consortium just from the work that she's doing with adult schools, but that's up to the board. to
I
answer.
would love to hear Barbara's thoughts on that if you have any.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I think I'm between a rock and a hard place. It's all good though, because I'm transparent. Our work with, the adult ed program and being in a consortia has been great, right? I can't lie. We've developed partnerships. We've collaborated on programs. I've learned a lot about what other adult schools are doing. Our partnership with MPC is fantastic. When it comes to dollars, it's hard, right? Because in the beginning, we were all direct funded. We had our maintenance of effort money directly going to our schools. I don't necessarily know if this is apples to apples, right? But I can tell you in dealing with a consortia, trying to hold on to your maintenance of effort and your programs, other partners can vie for those dollars, right? And they do that by, they can prove your programs ineffective, right? So it's really kind of going partners against partners to keep those dollars, right? And that's not fair because we're all friends, right? We don't want to fight each other for these dollars. We want to build each other up with the dollars that we have. And so, and the state's looking at the whole consortium model. They're looking at it right now, and right now, we're seeing where that's going to lead. So for this, we have a wonderful relationship with MPC, with dual enrollment, with our pathway programs, with our CTE. Our kids are doing well. When I was in the seat that Shane is in, we partnered with Carmel. Carmel had programs, we had programs. The problems were transportation and our bell schedules. We couldn't get the kids there for the classes on the times that they had it, and they couldn't come to our programs during the day at the times they had it. So we may have had one, two, or three students really active in those programs at that time. But I've been out of that chair for close to 8 years now, and things may have changed. So, I concur with Dr. Porras in staying where we are.
Okay.
Those are my thoughts.
Great. That's really helpful. And I'm going to just keep talking for a minute here too. So are we being solicited by Mission Trails to come in? Is that how this started?
This conversation?
No, well, yeah. Were we approached by them to say, hey, come on into this fold and join us, or where did it all start?
I can speak that it came on the agenda at the request of a trustee.
Oh,
this topic. So
okay.
we're bringing it, just took a while for us to get here.
Okay. All right. I think that's it. I mean, it does seem.
I'll add to that just briefly.
Please.
I was contacted by Robert and Burr.
Okay. All right. There's no easy answer, of course. And I know we don't need to this is information discussion. So, but it's good. It's good information, great discussion, because it's very complicated. We don't, at least none of the board members, I think, directly know the people over at Mission Trails. We know you and what you're capable of doing, and that's fantastic. And we know the people that are here in our district, and it's easier for us to deal directly with those things and support those. I think one of the risks is we don't necessarily know these other folks and what kind of turnover they might have on their staffs, and people who are doing maybe a great job now, but maybe not later. So again, not an easy thing to, at least for me, to wrap my head around. I do have one other just question and then I'll stop. So Carmel, we're in a consortium with Carmel right now, right?
Yes,
But they're also part of Mission Trails.
they are.
And so that part I still don't get. How does that work? That they're. Okay, so they take a double hit.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. That was an easier answer than I
And a
thought.
surprise answer.
So they
We've
just
never
pay-
heard that
they just
before.
pay more for it, so.
Thank you, Principal Keller.
Okay. And again, thank you for the presentation, because when I went through the material this past weekend, I was like, I don't really get this. I'll just wait for, I'm sure there's an easy explanation and I'll wait till Thursday night. And then it's like, oh, the explanation's not that easy. And it's not. So often when I see things come to the board, my assumption is that you're looking for us to say, yes, we like this. And it's not that.
Like anything in education, it's a complex system, right?
Yeah.
You know, if I may add something really quick, your comment to Dr. Porras about what this would take, and if we could get into it possibly, and then maybe kind of waver and then say, no, it's not for us, you know. I am worried about misallocating resources toward this. I really am. If we're half in, half out, and the board directs, well, myself and my team to go ahead and do this, I am worried. Our bandwidth of where we're at right now is about at max.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think, thank you to the trustee who suggested this. We definitely need to reevaluate these programs periodically to see if there's a better way to move the district. And I'm gonna just, I mean, I really trust you, Mr. Steinbeck, and you're the most knowledgeable about this in this room, and it feels like you're happy where we're at. And as it's been said before, we're not here to make a decision here, but I'm gonna follow your lead.
Thank you. I just want to be clear, is this is not an indictment of the Mission Trail JPA by any means. Robert Appel and Bert Guthrie are fantastic people. I've had back and forth with Robert quite a bit. I have a really strong relationship with many folks at NPC, particularly Christian Smith, because I work with him directly with dual enrollment. That's not what this was about. You know, this was about giving you information down the middle. But I think, Trustee Rivera, you hit the nail on the head with that statement. I'm confident where we are right now. I'm happy where we are right now. I think we're doing well. We have control right now over what we do. I have control over what we do, and I'm comfortable with that.
I guess I feel like we're not asking the right question of you. The question I want answered before I have anybody else present is, where do you want to go? Right? Is there an expansion for CTE that this would benefit? If that's the case, then bring it forward. If we're going to stay status quo, I think we're actually potentially have lost half a program this year. Then fine, you know exactly where you are, but where do you and Lido want to be? And does this change if we drive and say, hey, come in and show us something new? Does that change where you want to go? Or actually strike that. It's where you want to go, change the direction we should be taking. So, and I haven't heard that yet. So
We're very happy with our Cte Pathway offerings for the 22-23 school year. Absolutely. We're very comfortable with where we're at.
Well, I think the educational piece has been good, as we've said, to hear these different ideas and historical context of where we were, but it sounds like we are where we're supposed to be. And that doesn't mean that in a couple of years or down the road, you say, hey, this might be a good time to make a change.
Absolutely.
And that would be interesting, but I'm comfortable with where we are. I think we stay here and move forward. If things are working, let's do it. Yes, sir.
I want to add too, it's like, again, defer to your knowledge, right? And your expertise on this. I'm comfortable where we are right now, but as you talked about wanting to do other things, you know, like drafting and other programs, I don't want to speak for the whole board, but I would love to know moving forward, as you're thinking about expanding these, what things might you need from the board in order to do that? Because
So
I
this,
think what you're doing is really vital, and it's a great other option for our students. So I would love to know in the future, what else might you need?
one of the criteria for CTIG where we get that big lump sum, the 94K that you saw, is the district match. Okay, so we have an extraordinary district match. It's in the $370,000 range. Okay, for CT, and that includes salaries, you know, and also things that we pay for culinary and remodels and that type of thing. So if the board is so inclined to create positions and sections potentially, you know, for CTE related programs, that then bodes well for us in getting even more funding from the state. I will say this, that the CTIG grant can be paid for with sections. We're paying for 2 sections this year out of CTIG. We're paying for 1 next year. The reason being is we're spending a lion's share on the photo remodel. At some point, we're going to get to a point where we don't need to do these remodels with CTIG. You know, I see the photo remodel as being kind of the last big one. And we could then pay for sections out of that because we have control of that money.
Christy, I have a couple more comments.
Okay,
If I were to dig further in, because it sounds like I may be the only one who would like to learn more about the JPA from the JPA. So I noticed in the packet, the CDE allocation of the 11,600,000. That's a table that is their COVID-19 supplemental funding. So I don't know if we're using the right numbers to determine or even kind of estimate what our allocations would be. So I'm a little worried about that. And I know, and you had said like, hey, I put this together, I'm presenting my information that you know intimately. And so I have a question about that. I want to make sure that I'm making a very informed decision on this because CT is so important to me. Also, you know, there is such a value that you can't put a price on in collaborating with other districts. We're the only, I think, we're the only district with a high school that's not part of this JPA. And to me, that speaks of, that makes me have questions like, okay, all these other folks, and maybe they just haven't reviewed it recently, but it seems interesting to me or curious to me that all these other folks are part of it except for us.
Yeah, we're kind of different because we're a basic aid school. You know, we're not obviously tied to ADA and that type of thing. I think
Carmel's
that's
part of it, so that doesn't make
right.
sense either to me.
Well, that's one reason why we feel that way. As far as those numbers go, I reached out to Robert and Burr prior to doing this, and I had several questions. And if I can recall, they pointed me to several different page numbers as far as which numbers I was working with.
Okay, so maybe we should just confirm, or for me, with the conversation that happened tonight, I would again just like to request that, and perhaps it happened next April, gives you a chance to apply for your SWP. You get kind of more of a grasp on that, gives songs department a little bit of time, and then for us as a board to make a very informed decision, so that if a member of public asks, why didn't you join that JPA? And I just say, we wanted to just keep status quo, or we wanted to keep all the money for
that's a
ourselves.
misrepresentation, Carolyn. That's not,
Well,
I mean,
we
hearing
are
from people, we heard from Martinez, we've heard from
okay.
Dr.
I didn't mean
Porras,
to
we've
offend
heard
anyone. I'm
here.
just saying that, in my opinion, I want to have all the information before I give direction or ask for. I know this isn't an action item, so I just want to ask respectfully. Not trying to offend anyone. I'm asking respectfully, can we hear from the JPA on this item so that we can make a fully informed decision, and perhaps next April, give some time.
Well, what you heard this evening is, do we want to discuss that now, or should this, I don't want to have them come here unless it's a full board decision on that. I'm hearing you strongly say that, but I'm not hearing anybody else say that at this point. Say what?
Unless we have somewhere else where we're trying to drive with it, then presenting that information, I'm not sure what we get from it. So
Well, what we would be driving is the decision behind if we want to join the JPA or not, by having the information from our current situation with the district and from what JPA is offering currently.
If I may,
sure.
I see no harm in having Burr and Robert come, particularly with the understanding potentially if whatever direction you give me, we're not looking to rush this and try to get into it 23, 24.
No
You know,
rush.
you had mentioned April of 23. I say why not? But thank you.
I think we have to have a further discussion about it as we get a little closer. I mean, I'm not willing to say that, I mean, just every decision we make, in my opinion, we could be more thorough. I mean, things are the complexities of education. There are so many different options. I'm comfortable tonight staying where we are. I don't feel the need to have them come in. If it's for information, maybe, but I feel like there's a lot of things that are on our plate and things within our district that could use closer examination. I'd prefer to spend my time that way. Any other opinions on that?
I don't necessarily, I mean, I'm not opposed to a presentation at some point in time, so long as it's not protracted. I think Shane and Barbara and Ralph and Song all addressed it fairly well. Maybe again in the future, but I'm trusting the experts here that we have on staff with where they're leaning. And I don't even feel like we were like you were pushing in any one direction. I think you really presented it broadly, and here's this fact and this and this and this, and explained something that's pretty complicated. So again, maybe in the future, but not anytime soon. If this was anything but the maintenance of status quo as well, I think that's worth pointing out.
I just meant that in the sense that we're going to continue doing the same thing. That's what I meant by status quo, because it means staying the same. So we are going to stay the same unless where there's some changes that I'm hearing, but we're going to stay the same with our CTE programming. So.
Okay.
If I may, the one change, as you mentioned, is joining the Strong Workforce Program, which again takes bandwidth and that kind of thing. But I feel like I can make time to do that, by October, post-pandemic.
Well, and I think it makes sense that we hear from you again about this. Everybody agrees it's a very important topic. So an update on it or something that lets us know, were you successful with the workplace thing? That would be good to hear. Anything else tonight, Frank?
Nope, I have no further comment.
Okay, so we could hear that and then we can at a later point decide, do we need additional information? But as of now, I don't think we're getting that as a board.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for all this work. Public comment at this time. I see a couple here. Yes.
Principal Keller, former assistant principal, and had both Shane and Barb's position. I too do not see any problem with the JPA coming. Obviously, the leadership that was there when I was on as the CTE coordinator, unfortunately, there was one grant opportunity before the CTIG, and unfortunately, when they told me that I could do it, and unfortunately, we got $0, and that kind of led me to believe, well, I better look into things myself, and that's why I looked into the CTIG. In my opinion, we would not have what you see there, and everything that you saw up on the screen occurred after my time. That would not have occurred if we did not go into the CTIG on our own as an independent entity. We went into a consortium with Carmel because we don't have the numbers to get Perkins on our own. And as I've been saying, Carmel can afford to join the JPA, and why they did so, at least when I was there, is they got the professionals that you must have to give you advice through the JPA. But I realized that in a town like Pacific Grove and with the connections that we have, we could do that on our own for both Perkins and the CTIC. That we could go out into our community and we can have our own meetings. And that happened. All I did was reach out to parents. And I told my teachers, you need to find 2 people. And all of a sudden we have a committee and we check that box. We don't get as much money because of our demographics, period. My wife is a principal at a CTE school. Every single student in that school goes through 4 pathways. They all get certification. And I'm telling you right now, it's the certification that is key for our students. Several years ago, you almost gave a PG promise to every single sophomore. And you said, if you take the pre-SAT, we will pay for it. I asked this board to use that CTE incentive piece to have a PG promise to any senior that is a completer, that we will pay for your certification in an industry. That's the key. And how you can really look at this at the end of this year is once PGHS puts out how many kids are going to 4-year schools, and we've always lauded that, and when we should, but look at how many kids are in that class, how many are going to 4-year schools, how many are going to the military, and how many are not listed. Those are the kids we're trying to reach through CTE. And I'm telling you right now, we're not reaching enough. And we need to direct the school to get more kids into CTE, period, and to give them an incentive to do so. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Beth Schmass. So I'll give you a little history. Since when I first got on the board, I was the board rep to ROP, and I appreciated that opportunity so much. I was always the board rep through my 12 years. And so I got to know the program pretty well. And of course, it's not updated information now, but the thing that you miss by not being part of this JPA is that collaboration and that knowing of other districts and what they're doing and what they're thinking of and how they are reaching out to students. And so that's really I found that to be such a valuable insight, and that you could take that back to your district. And so you find out, like I was, one of the things that I remember was when Greenfield High School first started. They wanted to offer a specific vocational certification for their students. And so they did a survey of the Salinas Valley and employers to find out what did they need from students. And they said, and what they got back was, we need auto techs, computerized auto techs. We need them certified. So Greenfield High, through their ROP, put in this program just for that. And they decided they were going to they were small too. Greenfield High is not that. Greenfield and King City, split up. So they're 600 probably kids each. They're not that big. And so they decided they were just going to concentrate on this one thing for their vocational, because like Mr. Keller was saying, that certificate matters. That is a job. And so anyway, it was just an inspiring story. And I don't even know what they're doing now. They might have changed from now, but these are the things that you get when you, and Christy, you've been on MCOE, when you get people together from other districts, you learn things. And I just don't like the part that we're the only ones that aren't in it. I just don't like that. But there's a lot of different things to consider. So it's not, it's not only that part of it. And you have to consider what Mr. Steinbeck was saying. But I kept hearing the board just now say that we're comfortable. And that word just kind of doesn't inspire me. I want you to not be comfortable. I don't want you to sit there being comfortable. I want you to say, What can we do to be better? What do we need? And I want the board to say, where does the board want to do? You know, it's one thing to turn to the assistant principal and say, what do you need or what do you want? But you guys, you need to say, what can this district do for our students that we are not doing? And so that's what I want to inspire you with.
Thank you for sharing. Jamie, please.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. I appreciate your letting me have a moment. I have to echo exactly what the previous speaker just talked about. I do not want the board, the district of the board of where my children go to be comfortable. I want you to expand your horizons for my children and for yourselves. I do not want you to sit there and go, well, we're fine with this. It's great. We're here. Because what happens is there becomes this cloister. So we are now cloistered, the PGUSD, and we don't know if we're reaching the people that are not going to college, as a previous speaker mentioned. We don't know who we are not reaching. And so how are we going to get there? I want us to push boundaries. I want us to get us to a place where we are opening our minds and what we can provide our children. I want us to broaden, not narrow ourselves. So as I said, I completely echo what the previous speaker said, and I would encourage everybody who's on the board to look very closely, reflecting at, who you're representing, and take that to heart. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, please.
So I want to clarify my stance. The whole being involved in a group or not being involved in a group doesn't really sway my decision one way or the other. Most of the districts around us are in mixed sig. I'm very disappointed in what's going on with mixed sig. So to me, it's certainly like, okay, why is everyone doing this? And that's why we should look at this, but that's not why we should jump into it. I'm not comfortable with our program. I'll say that. I'm excited about our program after what Mr. Steinbach showed. He showed us this culinary program that looks fabulous. I wish I had a kitchen that looked like that. And then that instrument, I don't know what it's called, but that looks really cool. And I'm hoping to be able to swing by and check that out. That no other institution has around us, but that these Ivy League colleges have. So please replace my point of view from comfortable to excited about what we're at and where we're going.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Any other virtual things? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Steinbach. You got a lot of discussion this evening. Next, we would want to look at future agenda items, please.
Thank you, Madam President. What you see listed is what we have so far, and I don't think this evening I heard anything else that's being added to this list at this point in time. So now's the time to add if you would like to.
I've got a couple, Christy, is that okay? Or you're gonna?
Pardon?
I said, I've got a couple.
Oh, sure.
Okay. So I'd like to at least just bring it up for discussion to see if we want to add it. We've got our SRO contract coming up for renewal, I think in June. And my big question is, how do we evaluate that program for success? And my kind of smaller question is, can we have some sort of update on how that program is going, on how we're judging the metrics of success of that program, if we need to increase, decrease, change that program. It's a decision that I don't take lightly, having an SRO in our schools, and I just want to make sure that we're maximizing what we've got going on in that program, that we partially fund, halfway fund that salary. So that's one thing. And then I really liked what Mr. Keller said about extending a PG promise. You seemed passionate about that, Mr. Keller, and I love that passion. So I'd like to request that we talk about that. Maybe it just gets, I don't know if we discuss it at the board or if we just give guidance to build it into the budget or how that goes about, but I'm sure Ralph and Song can guide me on how that could happen, at least talking about it and see if the rest of the trustees are in agreement. And just to be clear, that would be for making a PG promise to pay for the certification process for our students who go on the pathway journey and complete it so that they can be career ready, have a career, have a job skill. Even when they maybe go to college, they can go to college with that skill or they can go straight into the workforce. And then I would like to request that next April, we ask the Mission Trails Jpa to come and educate us on what they do currently and just hear about that and maybe make it into one item where we're talking about CTE, hearing about an update on the SWP funding that Shane may or may not, let's be honest, you may or may not have time to apply for it by then, and that's okay, but just an update. I would love to keep track of that. And that's what I have.
Any other feedback? Not at this time. Okay, so is that it for tonight? Okay, all right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. This concludes our meeting.